Good morning, good people. My name is Joshua Edwards. I am your host of the Shop Talk 20 podcast. And today I'm coming to you from Trailer Life. As you can see, my rig in the back. Loving this warm weather, being outside, working from home. But enough about me. Today I have a special guest with me. Her name is Lori. And Lori, welcome to the show. I want you to give everybody the 411, where you're from, what you're doing now, and what's up today.
Thanks, Josh. I'm so excited to be here. Hi, everyone. I'm Lori Meeboer, and I am an artist. I'm a painter specifically in Corbyville, Ontario, so just north of Belleville. I grew up in the Quinte area, went away to school, studied art and English at Trent University, and I am working now. I always say a job. So I do have a day job. But I am also a fine artist and probably work almost as many hours painting as I do in my other job. So clearly the goal would be to be painting full time. And that's something that looks like is possible in the next couple of years.
Wow. So already I got some questions because this is interesting. You mentioned that you're doing the painting, you have this other job that you're doing as well. Those two things are happening at the same time. Tell me a little bit about that dynamic because and the framework I'll place for this question is that I'm very intrigued by people that they have a dream, they have a passion, something that they're into, and then they have something else that they're doing, whether it's to pay the bills, whatever it is, but they're building towards essentially, ultimately putting to rest sort of the day job and then moving full force into their passion. Where do you sit with that, and what is your kind of viewpoint on that?
So I think it's really interesting to know where and what I come from. So I'm a third generation artist. My grandmother was a nurse, but she also painted. My dad was an executive in the transportation industry, but he also painted. And when you grow up in that environment, you really, especially I think the last couple of generations, you really don't see the possibility of doing what you love as a full-time career. You're often told, the whole starving artist thing. And you're often told that for artists, they need to have a day job to keep their gig going. But what I've seen and felt in the last 10 years, I would say specifically, and distinctly in the last 5 years, is that you really can be an artist, a creative person, have a passion, and you can make a living at it. So for me, I am so grateful for my day job. I work for the federal government. I am so grateful for that job. And I do have passion in that job, but my calling is my painting. And so I think as artists, you have to look at, how do I make this my business? And if you only stick to the artistic creative side of what you do, it will never be your full-time job. You have to understand business. You need to understand marketing. You need to understand what tools outside it. Like, I have my whole toolkit of how I paint and what I do and what I've learned, practice as a painter. But without the business side of that and the marketing side of that, and without paying close attention and spending some hours on that every single day, I'll never do it full time. So that's it's an interesting dichotomy, because I do love my day job and I love, my coworkers, et cetera. I'm working from home. I have been for the last year, but I know what my end goal is and I know what my passion is. So I need to take the steps to make that happen for me.
That's incredible, Lori. And I love how you mentioned the practicality around, you know, even as an artist, you have to have that business mindset. You have to, know a few things about marketing, or at least know where to look. And if I can ask, what kind of inspired, the zest for learning those avenues? Did it come from, sort of, where you've come from, people that have influenced you over the years? Where did that sort of passion come from the business and marketing side? Because I get excited about this stuff.
It's really funny because I didn't grow up with parents who were in, sales and marketing, but my mom has always been a hustler. So when I say that with like the utmost respect, but she would never think of herself as a business person. So she's self-employed. But she works in contract with one specific company. But she's always been that person. When I got into fundraising when my kids were very young, and I've always been told, you need to give back. You need to give back to your community. My grandparents were dairy farmers and they didn't have a lot. My other grandparents, my grandpa was a logger. They didn't have a lot, but I always saw people giving back to their community in my family. And my mom, when my kids were young and I would be very involved with fundraising at the school or community things or, whatever it was I was passionate about, she'd be that person. I would host a silent auction. She'd be that person out there hustling, talking to people, getting donations for it. And I think my hustle naturally comes from her. My dad, who was the artist, much less inclined to be a hustle kind of person. He was an executive and he painted and he did sell some of his work, but he wouldn't promote himself or promote his cause. And I really do believe that while I was busy raising kids and getting very involved in the community and giving back to the community, I learned the art of the hustle almost through osmosis and placing myself in positions. This is really key for me, with very strong women. So when I placed myself with women who understood the hustle, and whether they were doing it for the sake of charity as I was, or they were doing it with respect to their business, I learned very quickly that if you don't naturally or work to have that hustle, opportunity is not going to just come knocking at your door. Things don't just fall out of the sky for you. You have to show the people in your community and the people out there in the world why they need you, why they need your talents, your skills, whatever it is. You need to make them want to come to you for that. And you have to hustle, and you have to hustle shamelessly. And I really do think that strong foundation that I have, both growing up and in giving back to the community, and then learning how to become a fundraiser and learning how to give back and really promote what it is you're wanting to promote, whether that's a charity or yourself. That's been a foundation for me that's been priceless.
Oh man, this is so cool. This is awesome. So I have to ask this because you said something that really resonated with me. Like, like the opportunity isn't just going to come your way. You have to create it. And I often say to people, I don't wait for opportunities. I create them. And I want to dig into this because I think it's really going to bring people value today. Like, what I always look at things from like a practical, also tactical side of like, what are some things that you would advise people on, especially in your field of work, that they don't naturally have the hustle, but they're willing to try some things. What are some tactical pieces of advice that you would give somebody that wants to kind of build that skill set and build that kind of into the framework of who they are and what they're up to?
So I would say, and I'll speak specifically to artists. So there are many, 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 many talented artists out there. And I'm not the most talented artist in the world, and I own that. But there's a place for me. So one, I would specifically say, hone your craft, practice, practice, practice 10,000 hours. People say to me, oh, I wish I was as talented as you are. Yes, I have natural talent, but I've also practiced and learned, and I'm constantly in a state of learning. And you need to open yourself up to figure out how to do what it is you want to do, find your voice, and then stick to what you are talented in. And I think probably in early years, I was guilty of trying this style, trying that style, seeing, do I fit here? Do I fit there? Figure out what your voice is. No, this is me, and this is what I bring to the table. And to a degree, stay in that lane. So it's very important that other people can look at a piece and know that is you. That is your brand. I want people to look at a piece of art and say, that's a Lori Meeboer. I'm sure it's a Lori Meeboer, because they know what my brand looks like. So that's really important. Before you do anything else, know your brand. Know what it is you bring to the table and why it's different from what anyone else brings to the table. Then you need to get yourself out there. So you need to get yourself out there on social media. Social media is your friend. I have heard so many artists say that COVID has been devastating to the art community. And I will tell you, Josh, I've sold more in the last year than I had in the previous 3 years because I was out there. Yeah, I was on
Talk
social
about it.
media. I was learning and learn how social media works. Educate yourself. You don't need to pay for that degree to educate yourself on social media. There are so many free resources and tools. And then I would say find your mentors. So who's doing what you want to do 5 years from now? Find that person. And for me, I found a couple of artists that while I loved their work, what I loved the most was how they promoted themselves and the business side of things. So find those mentors, and you'll be shocked at how many people are more than happy to share with you what they do and how they do it. And the reason they don't see you as a competition because you have your lane and they have their lane. And so go out there and find those people. But you can't do that. You can't promote yourself. You can't sell yourself. It's great if you've got the website set up and you've got the glossy this and the amazing flyers and the on point social media. If you don't have the product behind it and you're not able to produce for your clients, none of the rest of it matters. So build your body of work, build what you are and how you are, and then based off of that, then find the business model that works for you. In the arts, there are so many people that are incredibly talented, but just don't have the business savvy. And that's just one thing. You just have to build that side of you. I am an artist, but I'm a business person. And so a lot of people don't see those two as going hand in hand. They absolutely do. And there are ways to bring art to the masses. You just have to go out there and hustle and find it.
That's a super good point, around, like, you can have both. You can have the business savvy and the artist side. And I know, like, we have some artists that happen to be clients or colleagues and things of that nature. And some of them really, they just have no interest in it. So, and I'll pose this question to you because it's something that I'm just curious about your thoughts on, as it pertains to people that they 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 just don't see themselves getting there on a business level. Should those people then partner with somebody that does have the business side? What are your thoughts on that?
100%. There are artists out there who teach courses on the business side of art, who can tell you how to get your Instagram, or, whatever. Instagram's fantastic, by the way, for visual artists. It's fantastic. It's far and away my favorite social media platform. I'm just starting to learn TikTok, and man, I'm struggling with it, but I'm still learning, and I'm still trying to educate myself on it. But Instagram, because Instagram is all about the visual, right? So Instagram is such a great place for visual artists to learn from. And there are so many artists willing to teach you. So for example, I took a course through a group that had, different artists that would work as your mentor to a group. And I said, find me the artist who's business savvy and is selling, volume. Find me that person. And I was matched to that person. And I doubled my Instagram followers in a year, doubled. So I went from 2,000 to 4,000 in a year. For those people who just are like, I don't understand the business side of things, really just, if you want this, you have to know if you want it. If you want this, invest in the mentors. They're all out there. Ask an artist who's successful, how did you develop your business skills? They'll happily share it with you. And then, really just apply those tactics. I had a really big aha moment in the last year. A lot of artists don't want to sell prints, right? They only want to sell their original pieces. They don't want to sell prints. And I had been somewhat hesitant to maybe venture into that area because it was just something I didn't know. But what I did know was I would have a painting that would sell. And let's say that painting took me 100 hours. I sell it once, maybe I sold it for $3,000 and that's it. Well, you're not really making your hours back on that, right? And so an artist who was a mentor for me said, listen, in the world of art and fine art and the high quality things that we provide, there's a cost to them. So you will have a couple of kinds of buyers. You'll have Caitlin and you'll have Kathleen. Caitlin is in her 20s or early 30s, and she's just out of school, still has student debt, in her first real job. She's got her first great apartment and she wants to decorate it. She can't afford a $3,000 piece, but Caitlin can afford a $300 or $400 print. Kathleen, on the other hand, is in her 40s, 50s, maybe 60s. She's established in her career. Kids are grown. She wants original art in her house. She wants that, high-end piece that she can brag about to her friends that that's an original artist. And she wants to own that. Caitlin's turn into Kathleen's. So if you have someone who buys a print from you for $300 or $400 in their 20s, they're going to stick with you. They're going to follow your work. And why not offer them something that they can take home with them to have your work? Like, that's huge. That changed how I thought about prints with respect to my original art, because I can sell a $3,000 print. And then guess what? I can sell 50 prints for $300. And there's no additional work on my part. I've already created the work, and there it is, reaping the benefits. So, I can be sitting on my deck with an iced tea in my hand and sell $3,000 worth of art in prints. And I haven't even been painting. So things like that, to me, understanding those kinds of concepts and what you can bring to your clients and your fans, that's huge, because I just opened up a whole new market in doing that.
I love this so much. And what you're speaking to is something that I've been talking about so often. And it's funny that you said that you had this aha moment in the last year, because it was like the same aha moment for me, which is like, multiple streams of revenue. It's not just an opportunity. It's almost a necessity. like you need to have, think about, how can I think of 3-4 different business models to sell one product, to your point. I love that, the different type of clients, the same person that might want something as an original piece that you do, then there's a whole other group that maybe they want to purchase something on Getty Images. There's so many different venues and opportunities to move product. But tell me, in that aha moment for you, what advice would you give to somebody that's navigating this lane now? Because I love what you have to say about multiple streams of revenue, and to me, I think it's critical. Should somebody kind of start thinking about those things as they're building their business right away, and how do you think they should approach that?
Definitely. So as you're building your business and your product, start to think about, how else can I make an income from this? Because if you want to do it full time, especially with a painter, I mean, until you're selling big dollars, it's hard to get there. Until you're selling big dollars, you have to figure out, how many streams of revenue do I have, and what is it that is selling? So that's at the beginning. What do I do that sells every single time? And I have a mentor who calls that grocery money. So what's your grocery money that you sell every time? Okay, now how do I get that to more people? And how do I make money without having to work? How do I double my money without doubling the hours that I'm putting on it? So start to figure those things out. And very specifically with visual artists, as you start to build your body of work, make sure that you're paying the money to have a quality photographer photograph your work. And I mean a quality photographer who knows exactly what they're doing when it comes to prints, etc. So that's a mistake I made. So there's a lesson out there. I made the mistake of not having the highest quality of photographs. So I probably have 200 pieces of art that I can't have prints from, because I don't have the right photographs, and they're now all gone to their forever homes, as I say. And so I have been spending the last year working with a local quality photographer and building what will become my portfolio of pieces that can have prints done for them. So as you're working to build that, just think about the little steps along the way. So if my end goal is prints, what do I need to do now so that 2 years from now I can be selling prints? Or if my end goal is also teaching, I also teach online. So if my end goal is teaching courses, what can I be doing right now to interest people in maybe taking an online course with me someday? How do other people teach online courses? What equipment do I need to purchase to be able to do that? So as you're building your portfolio, invest in yourself. As I was building my paintings, I would always keep a certain amount of the profits to invest in things for the future, like the photographer, like the quality equipment that I need to have. And I'm investing also in paint and canvas and things. I built a studio in my home. What else do I need to do? I haven't been an overnight success. I've been painting hard for about 10 years. And I've really seen it become something that could be my primary source of income in the last 2 years. So you can't just quit. If it was easy, everyone would do it. It's not easy. It's hard. So you need to invest in yourself. That's huge. Invest in yourself.
One thing that's really stuck out to me in this conversation and it's so clear to me that, like, the not settling, like the opportunity and the truth that you can achieve what you want, and you don't have to settle for the status quo, like, to your point, like, the starving artist, so to speak, and you're proving the opposite. Just that alone to me is inspiring. And I find that they're inspired by people that they, like yourself, that they talk about it and they're also doing it. And I've seen that, like, roll over into other people saying, I can do this too. And people start making decisions and executing on stuff that it's like they probably would never have done before. But have you seen that kind of happen in your world, in the influence that you've brought, and anything you can share from that vantage point?
It's really interesting because I've always been a person seeking mentors. So I'm always looking at who can teach me what. And I am a very, very keen feminist who believes that, other women, if asked, will put a hand out and pull you up. You just have to ask. And I've been pretty brazen about asking other women that I admire, whose careers are further along than me. I've been really brazen about asking for that. And so I've always tried to encourage people, whether it's someone taking a course with me or someone who just likes my work, who's an artist who's starting out. I've really encouraged them to ask me or ask any other artist that's a little bit ahead of them in the game, any questions that they might have. So I find myself in an interesting position now because I still have mentors. I'm still working. I'll never stop. But I'm finding people are now choosing me to ask me questions as a mentor. And I have this wonderful opportunity to turn around and reach a hand out and help someone, in their first steps get to where I am now. And I am absolutely loving that. The Canadian art community, by and large, is a really generous group of people who are always willing to share and come together. And on that note, I'm going to tell you about an initiative I started just a month ago, sitting
Please
on my
do.
deck, I do these things sometimes and get myself in over my head a little bit, but it always works out. So I started about a month ago, this group on Instagram. So you can find it on Instagram, Art and Seek 2021. So if you search Art and Seek 2021, I just decided, artists across Canada need exposure, and COVID has been brutal. And this last lockdown has been awful. But one thing I've noticed in this last lockdown is people have paused and they love beautiful things. People are seeing nature more. It's quality time. It's taking pride in your home. And so people are very interested in art. And a lot of people are scared of art. When I had my first gallery show, people, friends who came to it said, I don't know what to do. Like, what happens when you go to an art show? I don't know what to do. I'm like, what do you mean? You just walk around and look at art. Like, art is intimidating and it should never be intimidating. But a lot of people are intimidated by it. So I started this initiative about a month ago to put art into the hands of everyday Canadians. So I just started recruiting people, and I reached out to artists I didn't know. And I reached out to beginning artists and really famous Canadian artists and thought, I've got nothing to lose. We started this Instagram account a month ago, Art and Seek 2021. And on July 1st, across Canada, we now have over 70, and we might be approaching 100 artists who are hiding in their community an original piece of art for free, leaving clues on their social media as to where the art might be found. And then whoever comes across that art stumbles on it out on a walk, walking into a store, the art will be identified, Art and Seek 2021, this piece is yours, will receive a piece of free original art from a Canadian artist. And the community building that this has created has been astronomical. People are seeing boosts in their own social media, but people are excited. They get to put their work out there and they get back to give back to the communities that they love so much. So it's been really fun. That's been a real aha moment, turning point for me. And the other thing I tell artists is the more you give, the more you get back.
Oh man, I love this. I love this. First of all, I love this initiative so much. Like, and I love that you're getting everybody involved. Like, one thing that has always worked for me, and I've always seen fruit from, is like, is how can you help other people get what they want? How can you help other people go forward? And whatever that saying is, like, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. But it's so true though. But it's the other thing that people don't talk about. Like, it feels good
Oh,
to help people get further than what they might get on their own. Like, that's a good feeling.
and you know what else? It's going to help you, because that artist or whoever it is that you're giving a hand up to, you have no idea where they're going to end up at the end of the day. They may be more successful than you. They may be, more prominent than you, but they're never going to forget you because you helped them to get where they were. And I'm very appreciative of the mentors that I've had in the art community, because they have absolutely influenced my career. And I am a loyal, faithful follower and friend to them. Um, I think that's something people need to see too. Whatever your craft is, don't think of the other people doing that craft as your competition, because all the money in the world is out there. You just need to go get it. So you just need to stay focused, stay on your hustle. Don't think of those people as your competition. Think of yourselves. I always say our powerhouse of Canadian artists, and we really have built this incredible community of Canadian artists. I don't think of them as my competition. I think of them as my best cheerleaders and my best sources of information. And I think that's important. Whatever it is that you do, you're you. Nobody can steal that from you. You are you, and people will love you if you are authentic. People will love you for who you are. Don't think of that other person as your competition. Think of them as your comrade in arms, because you are bigger and stronger as a team of people who can promote each other. I think that's huge. A lot of people see that competition and they're afraid of it. I'm not afraid of it because it makes me better. It keeps me on my toes and it makes me better.
Yeah, that totally speaks to self-confidence and self-awareness around, like, you and your identity. I absolutely love that. Yeah, I think it speaks to the human at their core, how confident you are in your stuff and what you have going on, and knowing that the right people are going to appreciate that, and knowing that what it nobody else can be you, to your point. So that's beautiful. Lori, let people know, give people the 411. I love you how you mentioned the initiative. We're going to include some links to that. Where can people get to know you specifically, and see more of your work? Give us the 411.
Okay, so you can see my work in a couple of galleries. So I'm in Cloud Gallery in Aurelia, and I will be at Art Junction in Whistler, BC by the end of this month. But the single best way to reach out to me and to get to know what I do is to follow me on Instagram, which is Lori Meeboer Art, Meeboer, Lori Meeboer Art. I'm also on TikTok as Lori Meeboer Art. Bear with me. That's a whole new experience for me. And my website is lorimeeboer.com. And again, Art and Seek 2021, really, you should follow it. And especially if you're in the Quinte area, because I'll be hiding pieces both in the Belleville and Corbyville area and in Prince Edward County. So follow us there. But you can always just Google me too, Lori Meeboer, and all of those things will pop up. And reach out, ask me questions. If you're interested in what I do or how I do it, ask me questions. I love to engage people in conversations. So look me up.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Reach out to Lori, get to know her, get to see what she's all about. We're going to include links in the final video that will go out to her stuff, so you can go check it out. Lori, thank you so much. It's honestly been a pleasure to speak with you today.
Thank you, Josh. And I love what you're doing in our community. So you keep it up.